Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Benjamin Cure Show on this Monday, January 27th, 2025. After an amazing championship Sunday, two amazing games. Even if you're a Commanders fan, I feel like that Eagles game, that showed us so much about who they are, what their identity is. They are going to run the rock. They're going to live by that sword and die by that sword, as they have all year long with Saquon Barkley, and they're going to do it in the championship game in Louisiana in just a few weeks' time. I cannot wait. But first, I'm not going to spend the entire show telling you I told you so. But I'm going to spend a little bit of the show telling you I told you so, especially because I told you the day after last year's Super Bowl, congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs on going back-to-back. I'm telling you now, they're going to three-peat. I said it the day after last year's Super Bowl, and so many people thought I was crazy. And now it's funny because I mentioned that to friends, and I've been telling them for a few weeks, and I've had a couple people tell me, well, Ben, that's not a hot take. You're absolutely right. It's not a hot take, and it shouldn't be a hot take that last year, the day after the Super Bowl, I told you I believe the Kansas City Chiefs are going to three-peat, when it was kind of out of everybody's mind, like as a distant possibility, like, oh, it could happen, but it's probably like not going to because we've never seen it happen before in the NFL, and if Tom Brady didn't do it, then Patrick Mahomes can't do it. You're right that it's not a hot take. It should not be a hot take because I am not a hater. I am not I'm not in denial. I'm not fatigued by the Chiefs' greatness, which I think so many of you are. So many of you guys are not objective fans because you're pissed off that your favorite team is not in the Super Bowl, or better yet, you're pissed off that your favorite team got beat by the Kansas City Chiefs, who are going to three-peat and who are headed back to the Super Bowl for the third year in a row, and that makes you mad because of XYZ reason. And let me tell you, I feel like it's okay to be a fan of your own team and to be upset that your team is not in the big dance. That's fine. But to act like this is rigged, or to act like there's not many different logical reasons why this is happening, people always say, well, Ben, what do you mean when you talk about the best? I use so many terms that are a little bit cerebral when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs, and people get mad about it. Ben, what do you mean by they're the smartest defense? What does that mean? What are you trying to say? Or what do you mean when you say they have the highest football IQ of any team, or they have the best head coach? Look at what the Kansas City Chiefs did yesterday. Jim Nantz told you like 15 times during the broadcast, the Chiefs and their coaches and their players told us in the pregame meetings, hey, in the production meetings, we know that Josh Allen likes to go left on the QB sneak. And Josh Allen the entire night, right after Jim Nantz would say it, would go to the left side, and the Kansas City Chiefs defense and Nick Bolton and George Karlaftis and Chris Jones and all those guys and that front seven were waiting on him every step of the way. So you can claim that it's rigged or that it's made so that the Chiefs make it back to the big game, but when the Chiefs show you that not only are they one of the most talented teams in the league, because you've got to be talented to make it to this point in the season, you can't be a team of bums, but they are also undisputedly so head and shoulders above everybody else, football IQ-wise, in the way that they prepare for the game and the way that they are coached and the way they watch film and the strategies that they use and the schemes that they have. I look at Spags calling a corner blitz to end that game, and I think, how can you not say it's coaching? How can you not say that's brilliant? How can you not say that is not the best coaching staff in the NFL by a mile, and it's not particularly close? The Lions were the only thing kind of close, and they didn't even win a playoff game, and they lost both their coordinators, Aaron Glenn to the Jets and Ben Johnson to the Chicago Bears, who I may talk about later in the show if we have enough time. Another thing here. Oh, it's rigged, and the Bills got screwed over because the refs have it rigged for the Kansas City Chiefs and for Taylor Swift. Really? You want to know what's interesting about the Buffalo Bills and the fourth down call? You want to talk about the fourth down call if you're a Bills fan. You want to talk about how it's rigged because Josh Allen wasn't given the first down by the referees in that play. You know what I think is interesting? There are so many moments in that game that you can point to, and there's so many players that you could point to in yesterday's game as to the reasons why the Kansas City Chiefs were simply better and ended up winning that football game. But you know one of the big reasons why? How about the Bills giving the Kansas City Chiefs the recipe to beat them? No, I'm not talking about those times when Josh Allen would go over the line and he would go to the left side, and they said everybody in the stadium, including Jim Nantz and especially the Kansas City Chiefs, knew, oh, on a QB sneak, Josh Allen is going to go up the left side, and the Bills were super predictable last night. That's not the reason why, and that's not necessarily what I'm mentioning right now. The Buffalo Bills gave the Kansas City Chiefs the recipe to beat them over 12 months ago, almost 12 months ago. They gave them one of the keys to beating them back in April. I think Brandon Beane is an excellent GM, and I think he deserves a lot of credit for building this Buffalo Bills team. But the decision that everybody said on draft night would end up haunting the Buffalo Bills, wait for it, ends up haunting the Buffalo Bills because it really didn't come down to that fourth down call, and it really didn't come down to the Chiefs getting it rigged for them by the refs, and it really didn't come down to Patrick Mahomes' legs on those scampers in the third and fourth quarter. One of the reasons, or one of the things that it came down to was Xavier Worthy, the guy that the entirety of the NFL let the Kansas City Chiefs draft with the 28th overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. The Buffalo Bills gave their pick to Kansas City in a trade and allowed the Kansas City Chiefs, their arch rival, to draft the fastest wide receiver in NFL history according to his combine time. And they said, hey, even if we meet in January, we're okay with giving you a weapon that is going to allow you to beat us when you have beaten us every single time that we have faced off in the postseason. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills are 4-1 against the Kansas City Chiefs in the regular season. Nobody cares about that. Look at Mahomes in the postseason. Now is 4-0 head-to-head against Josh Allen. And by the way, everybody wants to say, Josh Allen is the Peyton Manning to Tom Brady. Is the Peyton Manning to Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady. And I feel like we've heard so many comparisons of Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are the next Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Really? Because honestly, when is Josh going to win one? I'm not saying yesterday is all Josh's fault, but he did get outplayed by Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes, in the end, does have his number in the postseason. And in the end, the Kansas City Chiefs and Spags have the Bills' number in the postseason. So you can keep on telling me that Josh Allen is the next Peyton Manning and eventually he's going to get one, but eventually he's got to get one. And that's no disrespect to Josh Allen, but that's acknowledging, as much as we want to say Mahomes and Allen are the next Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, I think Mahomes is in a class of his own, and I'll take it a step further here. Everybody wants to say, we've got a big four in the NFL, a big four of quarterbacks. It's Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow. But the reality is, if you're objective and you're not just a hater, there is a tier within that tier. It's Patrick Mahomes 1. It's Patrick Mahomes on one leg at 2, who won a Super Bowl 2 years ago. There's like 5 empty spots. And then it is Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. Because you can tell me all you want about how Josh Allen is the next Peyton Manning and how eventually he's going to get one, and eventually Lamar will get over the hump, and eventually Joe Burrow is going to be back in the big game because he deserves it, because he's a great player. Those things can be true, maybe, but Mahomes is doing something that Tom Brady never did. Tom Brady did have rivals. Tom Brady had Nick Foles. Tom Brady had Eli Manning. Tom Brady had Peyton Manning. Mahomes has other great quarterbacks that he has simply stomped on throughout the postseason and throughout his career. Let's take it a step further here. Everybody, I think this is one of the stupid things that they do on some of the bigger networks out there that I appreciate and that I enjoy watching the same as you, but like this whole thing where we're asking now, is Patrick Mahomes closer to LeBron James or closer to Michael Jordan, or is he closer to Tom Brady, or where does he stand in that debate? And they try to throw other big names into it just to make it a hot take or get a lot of clicks online because they think that's what people care about. That is one of the parts that I don't love about modern sports media in terms of the mainstream stuff. Stop trying to compare. It's already ridiculous enough that you're comparing Patrick Mahomes to Michael Jordan, or that you're comparing him to Tom Brady. But if you really want to do that, you're wrong anyway. Michael Jordan did not reach his 5th NBA Finals until he was 33 years old. Tom Brady didn't reach his 5th championship game until he was 35 years old. Patrick Mahomes is 29 years old. He doesn't turn 30 until next September, almost a year away is what it feels like, 9 months away, and he's already in his 5th championship game. You trying to say, Patrick Mahomes is knocking on the door of greatness when he already kicked that thing off its hinges 2 years ago is laughable. And it goes to show that people, specifically older fans, are holding on to some sort of legacy that, yes, is very impressive. Michael Jordan has an impressive resume. Tom Brady obviously deserves a ton of respect for what he achieved in the NFL. But to act like Mahomes is so far away and is so distant from ever even nearing the category of who Tom Brady ended up being and the lore that is Tom Brady's career, you're in denial. Because Tom Brady failed to achieve things that Patrick Mahomes is currently knocking on the door of doing, and he's not even 30 years old yet. So you telling me that Patrick Mahomes has no chance of ever surpassing Tom Brady goes to show that you're in denial. Okay, there's a couple other things that I want to mention here. Let's already, you know what? I might circle back to the Chiefs a little later in the show, but for now, I want to move on to the Eagles because the Eagles showed you who they are going to be in this game against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Eagles showed you we intend on running the ball down your throat, and there's nothing you can do to stop us. They're going to utilize Saquon Barkley, and they are going to run him into the ground. That's why they paid him, and that's why the Giants end up looking like even bigger schmucks this morning than they did 2 weeks ago, and even bigger schmucks today than they did a month ago, and even bigger schmucks today than they looked like 6 months ago when they let Saquon Barkley walk out the door. If you want to clown the Giants for the rest of your football fandom life, I'm okay with it because Joe Schoen does not deserve our sympathy. The Giants do not deserve any sympathy for letting Saquon Barkley walk out the door. And he is making them as a division rival look like the biggest, like, I don't want to get too personal here, but like, Giants look like they're incompetent right now. I don't know what's worse. Joe Schoen saying, we're not going to pay a $40 million quarterback to hand it off to a $12 million back and letting Saquon Barkley walk out the door, or the clips that I have seen of Schoen's own son telling him, trade up for Jayden Daniels, when now your division rival has Jayden Daniels and made it to the NFC Championship game within 1 year of being one of the most laughed at, irrelevant franchises in the NFL in my lifetime. Schoen and the Giants look like schmucks, and rightfully so, and they deserve to get clowned as much as fans are clowning them right now. That is the reality about how I feel about the Giants right now. But Saquon scored, I think, 4 touchdowns in that game. The Eagles ended up having 7 total rushing touchdowns in that game. They tied an all-time NFL record for the postseason with the most touchdowns. Saquon ends up with 118 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, and Saquon rushed for that 60-yarder on the opener on the first play from scrimmage. I mean, that is textbook. It might be one of the best stories in NFL history, and I don't think I'm exaggerating. To me, there is an argument to be made. This is the day of arguments, right? When you're a championship after Championship Sunday, you can talk about this and that. I think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback talent we've ever seen. I don't think that's a hot take, and I've been saying that for a year and a half now. And I believe that Saquon Barkley's story might be the best story in NFL history. To be such an amazing talent, to give your all to a city who never gave their all to you, to be the one bright light at the end of a really dark, really gloomy tunnel that is a career as a New York Giant after Eli Manning left and after their winning ways have sort of died off. For him to go to a division rival after the Giants, who was the team that drafted him, was not willing to pay him and was not willing to say, you know what, we appreciate you, we see your value. They let him walk out the door. And Saquon decided to go to a division rival that has now not necessarily put him on their back, he's put them on his. His rushing ability and his playmaking ability and the highlights that he's given us this season and who he is as a player has entirely changed the perception of the Eagles. And I think the Eagles are a great franchise, and I think Howie Roseman is arguably the best GM in all of football. And I think they are. I don't think they're a bad franchise, even though sometimes Nick Sirianni gets on my nerves. But Saquon took them to another level. And it's the reason why this game, I think, will be even closer than it was last time in terms of the Super Bowl matchup between the Chiefs and the Eagles. But Saquon Barkley's story might be one of the best in the NFL. And if he does end up winning a Super Bowl on his birthday after years of being on an irrelevant team and trying to literally run his way out of there, being able to run out of there, get your money, get a win, build your legacy bigger than it's ever been, really, in terms of like the success and the lore behind who Saquon Barkley is, it may end up being one of the best stories in NFL history, and I could not be more happy for Saquon, and for his sake, I hope he ends up winning the Super Bowl, even though I don't think he's going to, and I think the Chiefs end up making history of their own by three-peating. Last story here before we go. The Cowboys have announced that they have officially hired Brian Schottenheimer as their head coach, a 14-year NFL coordinator. What I'm going to say here is not to insult Brian Schottenheimer. He has been a coordinator for 14 years in the NFL, and by most people has not been considered anything more than that until he was hired now by Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is proving that he is prioritizing his own power over his franchise's wins, and that is official and that is undisputable right now. If you are Jerry Jones and you look at, forget the NFL, look at your own division. The Commanders have Jayden Daniels. They have Dan Quinn, who was your defensive coordinator, who you allowed to walk out the door. You see the Eagles, who are really your arch nemesis, who really, it's not even a rivalry anymore with how badly they've beat you over the past several years. The Eagles have the best GM in all of football, arguably, in Howie Roseman. they have constructed an amazing team. Jalen Hurts is on a contract that, by the way, the cap hit, because of how Howie Roseman structured it and because of how Jalen Hurts allowed his agents and Howie Roseman to structure it, is one of the friendliest quarterback deals possible. The cap hit is not big for a while. The Eagles could probably, over the next few years, sign one or two more guys and restructure more deals. They are not in cap hell in any way, shape, or form. This is the worst Commanders team we've ever seen, because now with Jayden Daniels on a rookie contract, they can build up the team over the next 2 to 3 years to be an absolute powerhouse. Jayden Daniels is better than a 2-minute drill than every other quarterback in the NFL, outside of Patrick Mahomes probably. And you think that your franchise, with a 31-year-old quarterback on his third contract, on his third major injury, you think that Brian Schottenheimer is going to be able to run you out there in your own division and compete within your own division in any way, shape, or form? It is proof that Jerry Jones will not ever hire someone who outshines him. It's the reason he got rid of Jimmy Johnson. It's the reason that he played around with hiring Deion Sanders, but he was really never going to. And it's the reason why Jerry Jones will not win another Super Bowl championship as the Dallas Cowboys head coach owner, as the Dallas Cowboys owner in my lifetime. Jerry Jones, I would say, should feel ashamed, but Jerry is not self-aware enough to realize that he is the reason why he is losing. And as long as he is their owner, this is going to be a franchise that is doomed. Now, I'll take it a step further here. The NFL and Roger Goodell are probably worried that Jerry Jones hired Brian Schottenheimer. Ben, why is that? They don't really care about who teams hire. If there's a bad team out there, that's fine. No. The Cowboys brand as being America's team is going to take a serious hit. And this is going to be the first time where it's not just me or like Stephen A. or like other people clowning the Cowboys out there, or not even clowning, but just being self-aware enough to acknowledge, no, this football team I told you last offseason, you guys got mad at me, have a 31-year-old quarterback who's on his third contract. I don't have faith in him to elevate others. He is going to need to do that because of how much he's getting paid. They cannot put great pieces around him anymore. They have no run game. They have one great perimeter weapon in CeeDee Lamb, and after that, it drops off a cliff in terms of the Cowboys' receiving core. Their offensive line is weaker and older than it's ever been while Dak has been there. And you think this team's going to compete within your own division, much less for championships? I didn't see it, and I told you that. Now, you don't even have Mike McCarthy anymore, who, for all of his blunders and all the moments where he makes you want to rip your hair out, is a better and more capable head coach than Brian Schottenheimer, head and shoulders so. I don't know what they do, because now they're going into a season where everybody knows this team is terrible, their quarterback situation is less than desirable, and this team is not going to win football games. And what happens when they don't? How is Jerry Jones going to feel when he doesn't have a superstar head coach, he doesn't have a Deion Sanders, he doesn't have a Mike McCarthy who is at least a big-name brand that people can clown at or get clicks out of? Nobody really cares about Dak Prescott anymore because everybody can acknowledge he's 31 years old, he's played his best football, he's on his third contract, he's on his third major injury. We don't think he's an MVP quarterback, despite the fact that he gives you MVP stats. Oh, well, he gives you great stats, Ben. His stats were amazing. Great. Tua gives you great stats. Nobody thinks he's a great quarterback unless you're a non-objective Miami Dolphins fan, which I come across plenty of them on a daily basis. This is a team that is doomed, that cannot compete in their own division, and now everybody knows it. And they're not going to be able to get clicks out of it. So Jerry Jones' whole shtick as, well, our team might not win, but they're going to get clicks. Nobody's going to care about the Cowboys next season because it is going to be a dumpster fire. And at that point, I wonder what Jerry Jones will do. And more importantly, I wonder what the NFL would do. And I wonder if the NFL or Roger Goodell would ever consider telling Jerry, hey, we can't force you to sell the team, but it's time that you start thinking about it. Because this team has all the makings of what could be a superstar team in terms of the spectacle and the name, but that is it. This roster needs a total overhaul. You need to stop paying guys. You need to make some tough cuts. You've got to be willing to take some cap hits, and you have to find a better head coach than Brian Schottenheimer because he could prove me wrong, but I'm not a betting man, but I don't think he's going to. With that being said, that's all for this week's show. We will have more about these two championship teams on next week's show, but for now, I cannot wait for the matchup, a rematch of SBLIV, and I can't wait. Or excuse me, no, that's incorrect. SBLIV was the one in Miami between the 49ers and the Chiefs. So we'll see. Can't wait for SBLIX is the Roman numerals for this upcoming one. Super Bowl, I don't know Roman numerals. I probably should. Super Bowl 58, 59, 60, something like that. I cannot wait. I think it's going to be a great game. And yeah, I think we've got a lot of great football ahead of us. Just one more game, some great coaching. Wouldn't have it any other way. Don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. I'll see you next week.